that I never thought possible. I'm just gonna go ahead and just like this. Oh, I don't have a light. You know what? I would like to cast my magic missile.
What's your target?
My incense.
Okay, all right, okay. So you target the incense that you're clutching in a hand, and as you fire off magic missile, roll a d4 plus 1.
Your hand's gonna be gone.
Nick sets the wonderful.
Oh.
I don't have to set off like a million magic missiles.
No. It's not that. These incense. I mean, you're doing it. Like you said that you're doing it. So let's go through it. This is a part of the exploration.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So what is it? It's a D what?
1d4. She can't miss. Magic missile doesn't miss.
Like that?
All right, so it's 1d4 plus 1, so you do 2. All right, so in this world, inanimate objects have a hardness level, and if you breach that hardness level, it hits its hit points. This is just a stick that's wrapped in incense, so its hardness is 0, its hit points is 1. So when you fire this magic missile,
ba-boom.
it literally, like, it collapses with the top of this incense, and it explodes it from your hand. Like, it just shatters. Like, the dust of the incense just poof, catches with the rain and begins pouring over the top of the grave. And Father looks to you, and he shakes his head. I don't know if I should be proud or impressed or let down. I just don't know anymore.
You should be all of those things.
Most people just burn them, but, well, good job, I think.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Interestingly enough, since you've used Magic Missile, spellcasters take on their own aura of magic, particularly sorcerers, and they manipulate it to fit their own will. Magic is unique to each sorcerer and or wizard. Whereas a wizard learns throughout the duration of their life, sorcerers are born with it. So you, as a sorceress, you put your influence into the spell itself, and you can actually shape the magic missile. What would you like it to be shaped like?
Can I change it at all, any point, or does it have to be the same thing over and over?
Totally.
I would like it to be a duck.
Okay. You literally just... and it just fires out of your hand and explodes.
You have to do
right
that
there.
next time.
That's what happens. And I mean, like, previously I played a venerable sorceress, and her thing was tea time. She loved tea time. So every time she'd fire off her magic missiles, teacups would fly out of her hand.
Perfect.
Right? So you fire this tiny duck out of your hand, and it explodes the incense over the grave. He's impressed and disgusted at the same time, but he lets you do your thing. So next, Tasha, Daniel, he's going to leave you guys to this. Who's next? Who's going to give their last rites for this?
Sure, I'll give it a go.
Sure, let's see what you got.
The professor was always a kind man. He didn't stab me back when I stabbed him that one time. He took it well within his stride, and he learnt not to steal my food. And I feel like that's an important thing to have in a peer. But the food's my food. Don't touch your food. He taught me a lot about my heritage, which I don't know you guys, so I'm just not going to tell you about that right now. But I learnt a lot from him, and he was very kind. We went on a few engineering missions together where I was his assistant, and I feel like my life was better for having known him.
You're here, man. You're here.
Kendra wipes her eyes for one straight tear. That was beautiful. Mogar, give me what you got.
Professor. Mogar cannot believe this has happened. I remember long ago the times that we have battled multiple amount of enemies, the research you have gathered, the heads that have cracked. So many. Oh, glorious times I am going to miss. But for one last thing, as an orc religion, as one of our brethrens, one of our family members, someone I consider you as, we scream in orcish, yelling to relieve the spirit.
Thank you, Mogar, for that deafness.
Kendra and the father are very clearly shaken by this. They don't understand the culture of orcs. It just doesn't make any sense to them. So, typically they don't scream at the dead. Mostly because they can't hear, but they just believe that you know what you're doing and that you're not insane. They're going to watch you intently in hopes that that's the end of your own sermon, your own last words. Because if you start doing like flips and shit and cutting people, they're out. They're just gonna piece it, man. They don't want any part of that.
Nah, man, it's the orcish religion, bro. You know, when you just scream out, it's like letting your ancestors to know that you miss them, that you love them, and that they travel through peacefully into whatever they feel. So,
can I roll a knowledge religion to sort of ascertain maybe what territory maybe he's from, or maybe a certain area?
You can try.
Okay, I will do that then. And it's not a super impressive roll, but we will go for it.
Typically around here, in start of campaigns, I encourage people that when I say you can try, or a crit fail happens, everybody takes a drink. But obviously, since it's a Thursday, and you still have to function at some point in the rest of the week, you guys don't have to.
Well, I tried.
Yeah.
You know that it's not from around this area. It could be a number of places, though. It could be the tribe of like pirate orcs, right? Like Galarian has a sect of half-orcs that have taken to the water, and they raise their young completely seaboard. It could be one of the roving of the desert, of the Osirian desert. It's a number of things. He doesn't really look to fit most places. I mean, he has a tri-hawk, for God's sakes. He is very odd, to say the least, but that being said, you don't really know. You're probably just going to have to ask him.
My character is actually going to be ignorant about it and believe he is from the north, whether it's right or wrong.
Okay.
He has rolled low, but that doesn't necessarily mean he has the intelligence to know he's wrong.
Certainly.
Yep.
All right, sounds good. Kendra will encourage everyone to head back to the Lorimore home.
How will this play out, as I made a promise to Mr. Sheriff Gibb?
Gibb just wants to be heard. He wants to think that everyone in this town listens to him, and he's not going to come out here and look. Just to know that he got his way is more than enough. We should go back. We're soaked to the bone. We should tend to the fire, relax, drink more wine, and possibly forget this night if we can. Plus, it's very important that we see to my father's will.
That is true.
Tima is sitting pretty close by, and I go kind of sit, sort of, you know how bears sort of just sit, you know, just kind of hunched over, you know. I sort of sit like right between her legs.
Okay.
Like kind of crouch between her and say, didn't we make a promise, man, that we would like hang out here tonight? So maybe one of us should honor that, man.
I mean, I don't really get cold, and I can do that. I can stay if you guys are willing to hold off on the will reading until the morning. I've slept in worse places than a graveyard, so
Same here.
Actually, ma'am, if you don't mind, like, this is what I do, man. So I have no problem like sleeping out here tonight and keeping an eye out. My biggest concern is I just don't want those guys to come back and not see anybody here, you know? Then they're gonna freak the fuck out, man. Like, that's just what they're gonna do.
Those farmers, they don't want to come out here. They don't want to be here as much as I or you do not want to be here. They want to be in their homes with their families, stuffing themselves silly, waiting for a better day.
I want to be here.
Well, maybe, like, we can go back and read the will, and then I'll come back here after that. Does that sound okay to everybody?
Yeah.
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 I'm happy for you to get cold instead of me. And stay with the snack table.
This is fine. I would like to go home immediately if I can, so let us continue.
All right, I follow the old man.
Okay. Taking you back inside of the Lorimore home, you'll find that Solis, the noise has quieted down quite a great deal. He's probably, quite literally, shit himself to sleep. So, I'm just going to assume that he's probably resting up to this point. Moving inside of the Lorimore residence, it will change the sound of the rain. Whoops, wrong one, excuse me. To a bit of a thunderous decant. The suspense will drop. And you are left to discover what happens to be inside the last will and testament of Professor Petros Lorimore. Father Grimborough is given a robe, one of Petrus's robes, and he lays his clothes by the fire in order to dry out. He seems to bring out some kind of a tube. And in this, it's like a scroll. It's this silver tube that has a lock on it, and it's to be read after he's passed. So as he removes this tube, he makes sure that everyone is here, and he ushers to each of you to explain to Solis in the morning what it is that has happened. That his patience is thinning, he wants to go home, eat his dinner, and then leave, or at least go to sleep. So, as he presents this scroll case, he cracks a key over the top of it, and it opens up sidelong. Think like the sliding tube of the bank if you go to do a public deposit. You know, the tubes that kind of shoot up?
No.
Okay, that's right, because you're in the UK. Do any of my American friends know
Wait, what are you talking about?
Going to a bank, like the drive-thru at a bank, and
Yes,
stuff like the
yeah,
tube?
the suction tube.
Yes,
and then
Like in Futurama.
yes,
Yes.
yes, that's just like that.
Okay.
Futurama
I know what
is
that
now.
is.
Okay, all right.
Futurama is now. I like that.
So, this is the equivalent of the kind of tube, except it's made entirely of silver. When he cracks his key over its lock and opens it up, it reveals the last will and testament, and a key will fall from it. Does anyone reach for the key?
I do.
Okay.
Just Nyx goes and really like grabs at it. She's a little Miss Grabby over here.
Okay.
She's just picks that
All right.
up. And
Out of curiosity, has anyone taken off their wear to dry off their clothes?
I didn't even get wet.
That's right.
No.
Okay.
I'm wet.
I'm an orc. I'm always wet.
Don't you only have a loincloth on anyway?
I sort of live in my
No.
clothes, so wet.
We're all pretty muggy and stinky,
Yeah.
I guess.
That's how I live. So
Okay. All right. Well, the father is dressed up in the robe, and he immediately begins to crack the seal. There is a wax seal that has a almost Victorian-style L emblazoned upon it. As he cracks the seal, he seems to produce what looks to be some kind of a scroll. The scroll is not quite parchment, it's more of a canvas. And he begins to read, I, Petros Lorimore, being of sound mind, do hereby commit to this parchment my last will and testament. Let it be known that, with the exception of the specific details below, I leave my home and my personal belongings entire to my daughter Kendra. Use them or sell them as you see fit, my child. Yet beyond the bequeathing of my personal effects, this document must serve other needs.
I have arranged for the reading of this document to be delayed until all principals can be in attendance for I have more than mere inheritance to apportion. I have 2 final favors to ask. And being the old man that he is, he licks his lips further to allow himself to have a bait. To my old friends, I hate to impose upon you all, but there are few others who are as capable of appreciating the true significance of what it is that I have to ask. As some of you may know, I have devoted many of my studies to all manner of evil. Things that I might know the enemy and inform those better positioned to stand against it. For knowledge of one's enemy is the surest path to victory over its plans. This is something that he said to you specifically, Mogar. And it's probably enough to kind of recant that emotional standpoint in your heart. He always told you that knowledge of one's enemy is the surest path to victory over its plans. And so, over the course of my lifetime, I have seen fit to acquire a significant collection of valuable but dangerous tomes, any one of which, in the wrong circumstances, could have led to an awkward legal situation. Forgive me, Father Grimburrow. What? Oh, Petrus. While the majority of these tomes remains safe under the lock and key at Lepidstadt University, I fear that a few I have borrowed remain in the trunk of my Ravengrow home. While invaluable for my work in life, in death, I would prefer not to burden my daughter with the darker side of my profession. Or worse still, the danger of possessing these tomes herself. As such, I am entrusting my chest of tomes to you posthumously. I ask that you please deliver the collection to my colleagues at the University of Lepidstadt, who will put them to good use for the betterment of the cause. Yet, before you leave for Lepidstadt, there is the matter of another favor. Please, delay your journey for 1 month, and spend that period of time here in Ravengrow, to ensure that my daughter is safe and sound. She has no one to count on now that I am gone. And if you can aid her in setting things in order for whatever she desires over the course of the month, you would have my eternal gratitude. From my savings, I have also willed to each of you a sum of 100 platinum coins. For safekeeping, I have left these funds with Embrith Daramid, one of my trusted friends in Lepidstadt. She has been instructed to issue this payment upon the safe delivery of the borrowed tomes no sooner than 1 month after the date of reading this will. I, Petros Lormore, here sign this will in Ravengrow, on the first day of Calistril.
Ominous, man. Real ominous.
Well,
Mogar.
my work here is done. If you need me, fetch me at the Chantry. For now, I must retire. Good evening. He'll place the scroll on the table, grab his belongings, and then he'll leave.
I go to pick up the will, and I want to use perception on it and see if I can learn anything, make sure that he told the truth, and just kind of scour the document.
Sure. Sure, give me perception.
Sure. Let's see if I can roll something other than a 1. That should do it.
Based on the information before you, and the fact that none of the writing looks estranged, none of the ink seems to have changed, there are no strange thicknesses, it seems as if everything had been written while Professor Lorimore was sound of mind.
Okay.
Leopard. Can't pronounce the word. Sorry.
So I don't find any sort of secret messages or decipher anything beyond that. Okay, cool.
No.
All right.
It's quite far, but I'm willing to stay here for the month. These lovely snacks, and see that Kendra is ready. I'm not sure how you feel about that journey. It's a large undertaking. Nix, are you okay there, Nix?
Yes.
In the corner.
I'm trying to think of what this key is.
I believe that's to my father's footlocker.
All right, I will take good care of this.
Cypress's face goes pretty morose at the thought of opening that footlocker.
Mogar, what do you do?
Mogar thinks, from what he just heard, tries to process it. Of course, he is not as smart as everyone else, and he's trying to understand in his orcish ways. He just saw, you said that she has a key, and there is a footlocker downstairs that has some tomes, if I'm correct, that have evil scripture that he does not want Kendra to see, as well as there is also more tomes. I'm just trying to remind myself what's going on. More tomes that are in his other place, and another place is like
University.
There you go.
He wants to take the tomes there.
Yes, in his possession there are multiple tomes, some of which appear to be invaluable to his work in life and in death, and he would like for you to return those to the University of Lepidstadt.
Lepidstadt. Alright.
Specifically, you must seek out Embreth Daramid, and I'll spell that out here, so you guys can take notes if you'd like.
Yeah.
Embreth Daramid. That she is the one that happens to hold the coin. You were promised 100 platinum pieces apiece. That's 1,000 gold. That's a lot, considering the average worker in this world makes 5 gold a year.
Is she at the university waiting for us?
5 to 11 gold a year. Yeah, she is, but once this is read, upon his death, she will receive a letter stating his death, and then she's expecting you in 1 month's time. So you have a month in Ravengrow. You can leave.
So we have a month here before we take the tomes? Is that what we're talking about?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. Oh, I thought we had a month's time to turn in the tomes to get the money.
Kind of want to look at the tomes.
You can. Once you get to his footlocker, you guys can. And it's not so much that Kendra can't see them. He just doesn't want her to be stuck with them because of the implications of what they actually are.
So Mogar, he's going to be, since he's already standing, because we just walked in and we just all listened. He likes to stand sometimes and just kick back and relax. He's like, "Gnome, Mogar hears that you have key for footlocker, which has tombs. These tombs are what we need to turn in to get this plat. Would you like to have this platinum team, this group? If you guys would like, we can. But I see Druid is having a little bit of a look of suspicion, and I would love to hear a little bit more."
At this, I'm just sort of absorbing it all and all the information and the implications of actually opening the footlocker and what that might mean.
It's a lot to take in.
So many different ways, yeah. So I'm just sort of sitting there and, it's heavy, bro. It's real heavy, man. Like, it's not something I'm used to, man, and like, trust is hard to come by. Like, me and Tima have always done things sort of by ourselves, and we've made friends, man, but not really traveled much with others. I sort of look at everybody. You guys seem like a good sort. I don't want to let anybody down yet, man. I think that our next step should be... And he's kind of waits while he's thinking through his own feelings as he's speaking. He says, "Man, maybe we should open up the footlocker, man. Like, I guess that's what we need to do first." I look over at Symarra, and I don't know much about her, but just based on what she's dressed and some of the things she said about not being wet outside and stuff like that, I can pretty much surmise that she probably would know more about these sort of things than myself. So I proposition to her specifically that maybe you want to take a look at the tomes, but I gotta warn you, don't be tempted by anything you may read, or, you know, if it seems too much for you, like, you can rely on us, man, to like back you up, and I can always support you in that way.
Thank you for that, Druid. I would like to look at the tomes, if only to know a little bit more about the work the professor was doing before he died. Perhaps that could give us a clue about the suspicious nature of why everyone thinks he's a necromancer all of a sudden. That this is just so out of character for the professor. I feel like we need to know what it is if we're going to be carrying it for that length of time to the university. No harm if it came from a book. What could books do?
Plenty, man. Fucking plenty, man. Like, that's how it always starts, man. It's just you're dabbling and you want to know your enemy. You want to know your enemy, man. And then what you do is you read one page, and one page leads to 2 and 3, and suddenly you're like, man, this whole undead thing doesn't sound too bad, man. I could live forever, man. And then you're putting your fucking soul in a factory, and then the factory is like making fucking crystals and shit, man. You gotta be careful, man. Like, don't get fucking brought into that shit.
I feel I can rely on you, Cypress, to tell me not to read we'll just read the titles. Just read the titles.
Let's just take it one step at a time,
Yeah, that's
what I'm trying to say. All right, let's go take a look. I'm curious. Myself.
Sounds good.
Mr. Mogar, Master Mogar, if you would please, would you be so kind as to carry the footlocker? I'm not quite strong enough to do it.
Of course. Where shall Mogar pick up footlocker?
She'll lead you to Petros's room, where she'll point to the end of his bed, and there is a footlocker. It's about 3 feet long, probably, I don't know, maybe like 60 or 70 pounds. It's not very large, but she's not a very strong individual.
Yeah,
Mogar reaches down
with that Mogar, man. That footlocker really brings the room together, man.
Are you okay carrying it alone, Mogar?
Mogar bends
you could be
down.
delicate inside.
Mogar, do you need help? I'm definitely down to help you.
Grabs it with one hand, lifts it up.
Mogar got footlocker.
Just be careful. We don't know how precious those books are.
He's got it. He's fine.
He's incredibly strong. He's quite incredibly strong.
He can be strong, but he might be not careful.
Right. So when you're looking at the penultimate capability of man, even in this particular world, peak of human capability is about 18 to 20 on the strength chart. Daniel's character's strength, I think, is an 18 or 19?
It definitely is an 18 with a +4 modifier.
Okay, so
+4 temp.
He is as strong as they come. Very rarely will you find someone that is as stronger than him. And when he rages, his strength goes to a 22. It is beyond normal human capability. So, you retrieve the footlocker, and you drop it into this rest area, just in front of the fire.
Boom.
Next, you have the key.
I do. Are we gonna open it together?
I would just like watch you do it, man.
You don't want to all hold the key and put it in? I'm just so excited.
You can keep that.
I haven't done this
treasure it
in such a long time. So this is really nice for me.
Oh shit. Do we have anyone in this group that can like detect traps or any? I'm just starting to think like suddenly like we don't have any rogues.
I have the professor's man.
Oh, damn
we
it.
have perception.
Dang, we have perception. Can we roll perception?
I just realized I was like, oh man, we don't have a rogue
Good
in this
call,
fucking group.
dude.
Yeah, fuck. Okay, well, good luck us on opening anything.
Oh,
Perception.
Sure.
Yeah, we do have perception.
You wish to see if it's trapped?
Who's got the?
We can all do it, right?
Okay.
Yeah, technically.
So it's D20
Sweet.
plus whatever.
I mean,
I'm
like, I don't
proposed.
think the professor would, like, leave a fucking trap for us, man. But, like, you know, these books, they have a mind of their own sometimes.
It looks like a box.
It's
to me.
D20 plus what? The